Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want, on behalf of the Green Party, to pay my respects to Sirachi Tauroa, to acknowledge what a great leader he was, and to issue our condolences to his whānau. Mr. Speaker, today being is Members' Day, and my private Members' Bill, the Animal Welfare Amendment Treatment of Animals Bill, was to be debated in this House. However, I have delayed its consideration because I want the vote on my bill, on this bill, to be a personal or a conscience vote, because animal welfare is above all an ethical and moral issue. I wrote to the Speaker requesting that MPs be allowed to exercise a personal or conscience vote, and it was considered in the Business Committee yesterday and supported, as I understand, by the Labour Party, the Green Party and the Maori Party. But National argued that animal welfare was an economic issue, not an ethical or moral one, and that MPs should not be allowed to vote with their conscience on this issue. So once again, I have written back to the Speaker requesting he reconsider my request, because the simple fact is that it is animal welfare is an ethical and a moral issue. Now, some farmers may wish otherwise. They may wish that it was just an economic issue and that it was left up to them to decide whether they consider it profitable to treat animals humanely or not. But the truth is that the reason that so many New Zealanders feel passionately about animal welfare, the reason we had protests outside Parliament today about animal welfare, the reason we had a petition on animal welfare presented to this Parliament today, is because it is an ethical and moral issue which revolves around questions such as whether animals have an intrinsic value and should be therefore treated with compassion and respect, or whether really they are just the property of humans and can be manipulated and treated in whatever way farmers want, so long as it makes them more efficient sources of cheap meat, milk and eggs for humans. Now, these sort of ethical and moral issues are particularly important when we consider something like an animal like a pig. Pigs are highly sociable, they're intelligent, very curious animals, and as Professor Stanley Curtis, who spent his career studying pigs, he taught pigs to play computer games using joysticks, which they were able to move with their snouts or by holding them in their mouths. He says that pigs are one of the most intelligent animals on earth and that they far surpass the mental capacity of dogs. They communicate with each other constantly. Given a choice, they will live in families or small groups. They love to root around in the soil and to forage for food and socialise and have a strong mothering instinct. But when they're cramped together for long periods of time or locked in cages, their social skills break down. They become aggressive and frustrated, engage in infighting. Imagine how these sociable animals feel when they're locked in cages, unable to exercise, search for food, be part of a family, socialise or build a nest for their young. And this begs the question, a moral and an ethical question for this Parliament. Do we have a right to require highly intelligent animals like pigs to live miserable lives of suffering just to satisfy our desire for cheap meat, especially when we can farm it perfectly well in humane, free-range conditions where pigs are able to express normal patterns of behaviour? Is it ethical, Parliament needs to consider, to treat animals in a way that would be considered torture if it was carried out to humans or even companion animals? And why is it a crime to keep animals such as dogs in a cage for long periods of time, but perfectly acceptable to keep other animals such as pigs and hens in cages for prolonged periods? These are ethical and moral issues which this Parliament has to consider and debate when they consider my bill. We cannot have one law for companion animals and a completely different law for farm animals. Animal cruelty surely is animal cruelty whether it happens to a pig or a dog. Now, I acknowledge that there are economic issues that we need to consider, but ultimately I want my bill to be a conscience issue for every member of Parliament in this House.